Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the board's business meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, do you want to move down, or
I
you
don't
stay?
care, whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do.
Either way.
It's up to you. Good evening. As you can see, there's 5 of us tonight. We have enough for a quorum and can conduct business. Mr. Nadeau and Mr. Yeager are excused for tonight. Hopefully they're off having fun. With that, additions and deletions.
Mr. Supervisor, I have an addition, please.
Yes, sir.
I would like to have added as agenda action item number 4, change order crack and joint sealing contract.
Support.
Thank you. Derek, you want to?
Under the COVID allocation list that the board had reviewed a couple of months ago, we had some proposed work out here at the Township Hall parking lot. We have a vendor that's currently doing work island-wide that's under contract. We would like to extend their contract to include this work at the unit prices that were offered and have been bound under that existing contract. So that is that action item.
Okay. Any other questions on that? We're going to get a little extra work done. Always good. Seeing none, all in favor of adding action item number 4, change order crack joint sealing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, so we have a 4th action item.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to delete action item number 2, hire recreation director.
Support?
And you want to have Derek?
Yeah.
He's ready.
He's ready. Go ahead, Derek.
This item will be ready for the August 14th meeting. We had some secondary interviews that we wanted to conduct before it would be ready to bring it before the board, so we didn't want to rush it. That's the reason it's being deleted this evening.
Smart move. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion to delete action item number 2, hire recreation director. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. That is, action item number 2 is deleted. And I'd like to make a motion to add consent agenda number 6, approval to process and distribute payments through August 4th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you. We have an extra week in there between our meetings, so we have an extra week that we have to process. Any other comments on that? Seeing none, we have a motion to add consent agenda number 6, approval to process and distribute payments through August 4th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So we have that. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda
So moved.
as amended?
So moved. As amended.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have our amended agenda. Next will be public comment on agenda items, 3 minutes. And Mr. Costick, please give your name and address and yes, it is. The green light on? Green light on?
It is now, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Thanks for the opportunity to appear
Name and
before you.
address, please.
My name is Bill Costick, I live in Hawthorne, Glen.
Thank you.
Pleased to be here tonight. I see on the agenda that we're going to consider or accept the resignation of our finance director. And I wanted to come tonight to acknowledge and thank Ann for the work she's done, not only for the township over the years, and I've known her for 20 years now, but also for our DPS commission. You know, we have complicated budgets with the sewer system, water system, wastewater plant, the drains, the roads. And every year we work closely with Ann developing our budgets. And I think total dollar-wise, the DPS Commission considers budget expenses that are probably 40% of the township's budget cumulatively. But we put Ann through the ringer, ask her to, she presents a budget with the manager, and then often we, especially with water and sewer rates, she presents the budget that she believes is necessary, and we all have the effort to keep the rates as low as we can, believe it or not. We've tried to keep the rates as low as we can, and we ask her to go back and run different scenarios. You've done that for us, Ann, many times, every year, you and the manager, Derek, and thank you very much, Ann, for doing that. I also want to say that through the years, Ann's been really good about working with us, and she's been really good about trying to get things accomplished, this particularly with the water main improvements that we put forth, the bond issues for the water main improvements, the sewer improvements, and of course right now we're in the midst of paving a lot of roads and our wastewater treatment plant expansion. And we've worked closely with Ann and our manager, our commission has, and on roads over the years, many different scenarios. What if we did this? What if we did that? And Ann has prepared charts and graphs and refigured bond payments for us. And I just want to say, Ann, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you. And we couldn't be where we are today, I don't think, without somebody as knowledgeable as you are in finance, working with our bond attorneys and so forth. So I just want to say thank you and acknowledge your efforts. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else on agenda items? Yes. Mr. Zelasko, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Glen. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I also would like to thank Annie for his service. I had the opportunity to work with Ann when we did with Joe on the 5-year plan for the police department, which turned out to be, I'd say, pretty damn accurate. And she was instrumental in helping put that together, and I just like to say it was a pleasure working with you. Thank you. I'd also like to comment on action item number 3 regarding the bridge, which you haven't got into yet, but it's going to involve a study. It's not going to be a quick decision. I think the first date is October 15th when you make a decision on what you're going to do. No? Okay. A lot of information that you're going to need in making that decision on a multi-million-dollar option. One of the things that I brought up in the last meeting was the impact study that will identify the effects of the bridge going down on the safety, health, and welfare of this community. I haven't heard anything back. It's only been 2 weeks. I'm hoping that the board will take a hard look at doing that. It's not going to answer all the questions for action item number 3, but it's going to answer quite a few of them, and it would be a very, very valuable document to have, not only when you're addressing action item number 3, but whenever we're going to talk about the bridge, which is going to continuously come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
Bill's
Oh,
behind the.
did you want to come up, Bill?
I'm not smiling about the issue I want to talk about. I was passing along a joke from what Budney said last time I was here. Bill Heil, I live on East River. I got to settle down. This bridge and the consideration of our ownership of it is a complicated issue. It's a significant issue. I think that the biggest advantage that we have in accepting an offer reduces to one word: control. It gives us some thoughts here about what might happen to our future. But at the same time, it gives us, with that control, when you have control, you have responsibility. And for want of a better term, and maybe it's because of the way I was raised, when I was given new responsibilities, I had new opportunities, I had new responsibilities. That's the best way to say it. There's a new opportunity here that brings us to us new responsibilities. And what I'm suggesting here is that there's an opportunity to learn from that. I would suggest that rather than we trying to operate it, or I've got to clarify that a bit. I would like us to have somebody who operates it for us and teaches us, who knows. Someone like Paul Smoke would be the best, but there's a company I know that does it worldwide called, I think it's Brookfield Infrastructure. They run turnpikes, and the turnpikes have bridges. Somebody that has done this and we can talk to and learn from. This thing has to run. It has to run reliably. I know that we have taxpayers here who are concerned about tolls. I'm not unsympathetic to those concerns, but I'm not wanting us to greet that situation as an opportunity to reduce the impact that they would feel from it immediately. I'd rather we had had some other coordination to it. If we have to face a 6 to 8 month situation where this bridge goes down, the other one can't, and we have to pay whatever the traffic will bear to keep that thing running when it goes down, if it does. I'm not saying it will. But you need a full sock of money in that entity to make sure that everything will work. Maintaining a bridge is very expensive, to my experience with whatever information I have learned. And the rest of it we'll have to deal with. Over time, I can see where that would benefit us. But we're talking about taking over ownership at a time when we have significant challenge just from the pressures put on the service that the bridge provides. And you've got green ownership with strong demand. And that's what I'm wanting you to look at and be very careful of, because that impacts our lives. Any way you want to look at it, that impact study that Bob's talking about, Zelasko is talking about, is significant. But when I say our lives, it means our public safety. Fire trucks coming if we need them, like that house on Meridian, getting to the hospital if we need an ambulance, our whatever you want to mention, getting to work every day, and there's a trend getting back to work out of our homes. All of that's in this. And so I'm in favor of this decision, but I'm also wanting to encourage you to be aware of your responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? There's nobody else behind Bill, is there? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Dave isn't here.
Dave isn't here, so yeah, people are going to pick up the slack. Consent agenda 23-040, which a motion to accept the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the July 10th, 2023 regular meeting, the check register dated through July 14th, 2023, the 2024 Senior Alliance Annual Implementation Plan for Aging Services, early voting tabulator and ballot box, an amendment to the SINC agreement, which is the Downriver Mutual Aid among some of the communities, and added to that was the approval to process and distribute payments through August 4th, 2023.
Second.
Any questions concerning the consent agenda?
The biggest one is
yes.
SINC, so that's e-course being admitted into the Downriver Mutual Aid.
That is e-course being admitted into that group. Yes.
I'm fully supportive. Thank you.
Not all of the DCC communities belong to that.
Okay.
So they weren't. They want to get in.
Excellent.
Is that
Thank you.
about?
Yeah, that's just
yeah.
information
Yeah.
sharing group is the
Right.
SINC group.
Anything else on
That was
the
it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve consent agenda 23-040, which consists of the minutes of July 10th, 2023, regular meeting. Is that one for me? Check register dated through July 14th, 2023. 2024 Senior Alliance Annual Implementation Plan for Aging Services. Early voting tabulator and ballot box. Is that a purchase, Brian? Yep. And amendment to the SINC agreement and approval to process and distribute payments through August 4th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have our consent agenda. All right. Brings us to our action items. And we start off with one that I was hoping I wouldn't be around for.
Is it too late for a motion to delete from the agenda?
Well, we don't have, yes, delete would be better than turning it down, right? But we have a motion that the Township Board hereby accepts with regret the retirement of Ann Darsniak from the position of Finance Director with the Township of Groseal.
Second.
All right, now I'm going to read a little history here. Whereas Ann Darsniak has served for over 27 years as a dedicated employee to the Township of Groseal, and whereas during her employment with the Township of Groseal, Ann Darsniak has served the township in various capacities, including the position of Deputy Clerk, Interim Township Manager, and finally as the Township's first ever Finance Director. And whereas the Finance Director, Darsniak, provided tremendous support and leadership to the Township in the most professional and conscientious manner throughout her tenure with the Township of Groseal, and whereas the Township Board of Trustees regretfully accepts the retirement of Finance Director Darsniak, now therefore on this date, July 24th, 2023, I, James Budney, on behalf of the Groseal Township Board of Trustees, do honor Finance Director Darsniak for her commitment and dedication to the Township of Groseal and to our island community. Thank you, Ann. Before I let Ann come up and say something, I just personally want to congratulate you and thank you. I've worked with Ann 11 years now, being on the board, and she's always been very straightforward with me, always gets me my answers, gets me whatever I need, and she's been that way to every board member that I know of. The answers aren't always clear, and that's just the game that is played. They're not always as black and white as we'd like with things, but she always gets us an answer, and she's been a joy to work with, and Ann, I know I will miss you, as I know a lot of, certainly the people in the township are going to miss you a lot. So if you would like to, you may come up. And depending on what you say is how the vote will go.
I think this is going to be short and sweet. I don't want to cry. But I just wrote a little something out. I want to thank Groseal Township for everything it has given to me and my family. I worked here for half of my life, and I know it had a major impact of who I am today. I have met so many great people along the way. I want to thank everyone I have worked with over the years. I will always cherish the memories, the laughs, the friendships that were made. I can honestly say I loved my job. Don't get me wrong, Fridays were great, but Mondays were okay too. I really did not mind coming to work. I enjoyed it. But for all that being said, for all that I have given, I only hope that in return, I help to make Groseal a better place to live.
Thank you, Ann. before we get into any other comments.
Somebody down there?
No,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just want to say, Ann, I think that I worked with you for all except 1 year of your career. The year that I retired, and then the next year I got on the township board. And you've helped me understand a lot of things. You were always open. Your door was always open. You were always educating me on something. You helped me out with our plans in the police department, our budgets. And then when I got on the board, I had to learn other facets of the finance area, and you taught me that. And there was never a time that I went into you that you were at least too busy to sit down or at least help me out. I mean, I was obviously new at this game. And my first year as chief, I had to learn a lot too. I mean, it's the way it is. And I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate it. You were always upfront and honest with me. You told me the way it is. Yeah, you sure told me the way it is a few times, but that you have to. You've got to be straight. You've got to be strict. And I learned. But I just want to say, I hope in your future you have a happy, healthy. It's not a really retirement. You're going to a new job in next week? So I just want to wish you the best in this new job. And I know you're going to be an asset to them. But I personally appreciate everything you've done for me. I know you've done a lot for the township. But thank you, and I hope everything works out well for you.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody else?
Well, I don't want to make this about me, but we know that you've been extremely helpful to all of us. And when I first came here, you were deputy clerk and, ran the elections, taught the rest of us how to run elections. As elections were changing, I mean, we were here at the time when we went from basically all paper and voting machines and all paper to now the electronic systems. We were here when they rolled out the qualified voter file, and it was a semi-fiasco, but, we got through it. But I think you have made a positive impact beyond what you do for this board and the people that come to our meetings, is that you've always been available to the public and explained concepts of government that are confusing at best sometimes. And you always gave our residents the time and the patience to help explain why sometimes we worked slower on certain things, why some things didn't happen faster. And I think that's made a huge impact. And the other thing is, you've also been a great role model for young women in the township, being a finance director, a CPA, a professional, very knowledgeable in your field. Made a big impression on my daughter, and I think on some of the other daughters of people of our generation, as well as your daughter. So I'm going to miss you fiercely, but I know that whatever you do, you give it your absolute best, and that's really damn good. So take care, girl.
Well, and I would like to just note, I've been involved with the township for 40 years, and I remember when this young lady, barely out of college, would come and sit in the old conference room at the post office. Is located right now. And you were working with Tom and for Tom Monteleone at that time. Tom had the green eye shades and the glasses and looked every bit the accountant, auditor. And you did not. I remember the first time I asked somebody, who is that? And they said, that's our new auditor. She's working for Hungerford. And she comes well recommended. And then when you came to the township 3 years, I think it was 3 or 4 years later after I started, I found you to be possessed of phenomenal skills and talents. Could ask you a question about a budget or a budget item. How have we done this in the past? And you have a phenomenal memory. Absolutely phenomenal memory, and we're going to miss that. We're going to miss a lot of things. I think you set the standard, the bar, the gold-plated standard for what it means to be finance director here. I've sat in on dozens of meetings where you've been involved presenting budgets, mid-year reviews, final budgets, study sessions, and I do not remember a single time where you either didn't have the answer at your fingertips or you knew where to find it very, very quickly. That is a standard that is unbelievable with a budget of $6 million a year, all of the state and federal guidelines you have to work with. I didn't know what GASB was until I sat with you, and I'm still not sure I know what GASB is. But you have had a phenomenal career serving the people of Grosse-Ile. And while you've indicated it's not a one-way street, and you've been absolutely wonderful. The patience you've shown, the command of the material, second to none. And when you can take something as complicated as a budget, and we've really tried the last 5 years, 6 years, with your graphs and with your charts and your explanations, when you've come up to that microphone, I don't recall a single instance when there was not an answer to every question that was presented. I can't thank you enough. I don't know how we're ever going to be able to replace you. I don't think you replace somebody like that, but you hope to find somebody that has the same skills, talent base, and abilities, passion, and patience for her job. And from the bottom of my heart, with 40 years of experience working with you, Ann, I'm going to miss you. And I think that's the most you can say about anybody. I'm really going to miss you. Thank you.
I'll try and be quick. I've been here for a little while now, and I don't think I've ever seen as many people praise you as have tonight, and that's with good reason. And I want to add a perspective from a newer person. Having been up here, I know I could have come in as a citizen, and you would have helped me understand things, and I've seen you do that with others. But having been up here now, you've just been great. I can't express enough. Just even the budget process, I could have come in as a citizen to understand that better. I didn't, I'll admit that. And when I became part of the township board, I wanted to, and you helped me do that. And not only helped me, but I feel like helped the public. And I saw you do that. Not only that, I'll say it, you also push back on people, including folks on this township board. And I think that's a good thing that all, I hope township employees aspire to. I know it's hard. I know you were able to do that because you had been here for so long and developed all those relationships. But I'm grateful for the times that you did that, to push back on us and people in the public as well. So I think that's why you have the respect that you have here now. And so I'll try to end there. But I'll add to others and say thank you. And thank you so much.
With that, we have a motion that the Township Board hereby accepts with regret the retirement of Ann Darsniak from the position of Finance Director with the Township of Grosse-Ile. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yay. Good luck, Ann, and thank you. Okay. All right. And with that, we have action item number 2 was deleted, so that brings us to action item number 3. We have a motion that the Grosse-Ile Township Board hereby approve and authorize the execution of the attached exclusivity agreement.
Support.
Thank you. And as has been mentioned about this so far, the Township Board is looking into the possible purchase of the toll bridge from Grosse-Ile Bridge Company. This exclusivity agreement means that they will not look for anybody else while we're doing our due diligence to look in to see whether or not we want to do this. It is going to be something that's going to take a long time, because we want to certainly do it right for all the reasons that were mentioned by Mr. Heil and Mr. Zelasko. This impacts Grosse-Ile. It does give us some benefits, but it's also got to work all the way around. It has to certainly work where it's not an impediment on the residents of Grosse-Ile, but an asset. And we will spend our time and our money doing that properly. This is an exclusivity agreement. We also have a confidentiality agreement, which does not allow us to say too much about what's going on at this time. We will down the road, certainly well before anything happens on this. But as we go through this, we really can't say much. Any questions from the board? Yes, Uda.
No, okay. Well, I just want to address the flip side. While we're going through this process, it's important for us also to remember what are the potential consequences of the board not acting. And so, we're looking at all sides of this equation to make sure that we follow the right process for this community. And I wanted to basically underscore the word purchase, which many of you know makes a big difference in this conversation. So that's it for me.
Other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion that the Groseal Township Board hereby approve and authorize the execution of the attached exclusivity agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we have our agreement. Thank you. And Carl.
As to action item number 4, I move that the Township Board hereby approve a change order with Al's Asphalt totaling $13,708 for crack sealing and seal coating of the Groseal Township Hall parking lot.
Support?
History and purpose behind this is that there is a preventative maintenance work that was authorized under the COVID funds funding list. The township has a current contract with Al's Asphalt for similar work, which is competitively bid and authorized earlier this construction season. This change order would add this work under the contract to that established unit price.
Derek, do you have anything that needs to be added to that?
I don't believe so.
Any other questions or comments on that issue? Seeing none, we have a motion that the Groseal Township Board hereby approves a change order with Al's Asphalt totaling $13,708 excuse me, for crack sealing and seal coating of the Groseal Township Hall parking lot. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We get our parking lot added on. We've been somewhat lucky this season that we've been getting a lot of extra work because of things costing us less than what was in the bids and things of this nature. So we're getting more done quicker. And that, make my notes, that ends the action items, which brings us to public comment on any topic, 3 minutes, name and address, anyone. I see someone way back in the audience coming up. Mr. Flavin. How are you tonight, Kevin?
Good evening. Very well, thank you. How are you, Mr. Budney?
Okay.
Couple thoughts. During the township's consideration of the sale of the cell towers, I believe Mr. Forrester mentioned that there was money owed to the township by, I believe, AT&T, and I think the numbers were somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000. I wondered what the status on collecting that money, since the decision was made not to sell the towers at this time. What is the status on collecting that money? So that's item number 1. Item number 2 is thanking Mrs. Darzniak for, she has helped me in the past, and I appreciate that. And going forward, I hope that when we consider a new finance director, that we are able to find somebody that would be a person to do, as we have talked about in the last election cycle, comprehensive financial planning for the police, fire, township departments, as well as the township as a whole. And I know that we do something that the township calls a financial plan. We're hoping that there's a more comprehensive plan that can be done. A more detailed plan for those committees. The police did have a comprehensive financial plan over the last 10 years. I don't think that we've done that going forward. I also realize that the finance director is directed by the township supervisor and the board members on what to do and what to pursue. So I think that if we get our policies and procedures and for going forward and find some person that would be willing to move in that, or has the skills and willingness by the board. Again, it's not that the finance director didn't, the finance director does what she is asked to do by the township. So I'll say it that way. The goal I would hope would be Government Finance Officers Association, getting a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award going forward. And as far as what Mr. Zelasko said, I'm wholeheartedly in agreement that we need a impact study sooner rather than later to move forward with whatever we decide to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else but Greg? Just kidding, Greg. How are you?
Okay. Good, Mr. Supervisor. Greg Carmazin, 21228 East River Road. I'd just like to commend the board tonight on the decision to move forward with the exclusivity agreement. I, like all the members of the public, found out about it by reading the agenda that the township published, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that this day has come about. As you know, I did work with the bridge company from 2006 to approximately 2011, so I've had no connection with the bridge company for over 10 years. But I am aware of generally of the issues that are going on with the Wayne County Bridge and the toll bridge and of course other considerations in the Detroit River Trenton Channel, like the McClough Steel site and its redevelopment. And in fact, I'm on the EPA's Community Advisory Group representing the Grosse Ile Civic Association along with Bill Heil, who's the president of the organization. And you know, this is a complex proposition. There's no question that you've got a lot of work to do to understand this and what is in the best interest of Grosse Ile. And that's you know, something that's going to, I think, require taking a look at not just the toll bridge and the operations and maintenance and finances and all the considerations that go into purchasing that asset and the business and all the property and everything along with it, but also how it impacts what happens over at the Wayne County Bridge and also the McClough Steel site. You know, there is obviously a proposal to redevelop the McClough Steel site potentially as an intermodal shipping port. And we know that there's a long history of the current owner of that property and how he has interacted with the community, or his company has interacted with the community, and you know, that is a consideration. So I think that, you know, as you're doing this, I know that from the reading the exclusivity agreement, there is a non-disclosure agreement. There's a lot of confidential information that you're going to be looking at. But at some point, I think it is going to be really important for you to have public hearings when you get to the point of, if you get to the point of a purchase agreement, to have public hearings and to talk about everything that you can talk about, and make sure that the public is involved in this process long before you get to an actual vote on whether or not to purchase the bridge. And in that context of, education and analysis, I agree with Bob Zelasko that I think an impact study on the closure of the Wayne County Bridge, which I know some view is undecided at this point, but from what I've read in documents that I've been able to obtain through FOIA, that it is highly likely that there is going to be a long-term closure of the county bridge. And, you have to consider that impact and how the township would interact with the community in the context of a long-term closure of the county bridge for maintenance. And ultimately, what happens if we get to the point where that bridge needs to be replaced? And you have to consider that in this transaction as well. So there's a lot of work that I know you're going to do, and I'm just saying from my standpoint that I encourage you to do it, and when the appropriate time comes, to involve the public and help to educate everyone on when you get ready to make that decision. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Good to see you. Anyone else?
Bill, can you see him?
Which Bill? Oh, the older Bill.
The good one. The good one.
I just thought, since the topic's up, I want to express myself, follow up on Greg and Bob and Bill. I think this is a good move. I don't know any details about it. I've long thought that, and I would call it a right of first refusal. I don't know where you're going with that, but it ought to be worth looking at. And I'm glad you're doing it. And it's complicated, but hopefully it'll all work out. So I just wanted to let you know I support this very much.
Thanks, Bill. How about the other Bill? Is he? Yeah, here he comes. Here he comes.
That again?
I remember that show.
Yeah, Sagebrush Shorty. Yeah. Bill Heil, East River. Yes, thank you for passing this passing the opportunity to investigate it further. I agree with what Greg had to say. I reduce things, or try to reflect an understanding. In this issue, the devil is in the details. And be aware of those. Have your ears and eyes open to opportunities to gather information and know what those thoughts mean. Truth has a variety of viewpoints, and being aware of them, if in fact you don't even adopt all of them, at least you know the consequences of your actions. And there's a lot of potential here. After it's under control, we wouldn't have these issues if it wasn't for the fact that there had been a long period of time when what needed to be done wasn't. After it's under control, it's like running the wastewater treatment plant in a way. I mean, I don't want to simplify that, but you know what to do. You have an operation, and you have some reason to anticipate when necessary changes are necessary, either because of normal wear and tear or because of changes in the law. We're not quite in that position with this situation because we have a circumstance where those who are responsible for this give us challenges. And when those challenges rear their head, it puts impact on our need to sustain that toll bridge. And because of the uncertainty of that, that was why I was making my comments about trying to give anybody hope about a decrease in what the toll might be. We're going to need that money to cover it, whatever. If my memory serves me correctly, there was one moment when we were not with a free bridge, the toll bridge had some challenge that Paul had to get taken care of very quickly. He had the contacts, he knew who to talk to, he had the financial strength to get it done. And we need to be sure that we operate this thing in the same way, because we need to go to work. We need to keep that doctor's appointment. Whatever it is, there's, the schools, I don't hear a lot of talk about that. But our school system has a significant proportion of people who come here because they like the quality of the education, but they are called schools of choice or something with that type of title to them. They aren't going to come to here. The fact that they're paying those tolls ultimately long-term often enough would turn them away. And what that would do to us, I don't know, but it wouldn't help us. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with accepting that opportunity to own that. And I've already said that a few minutes ago. But I think we should step up to the challenge and keep our eyes and ears open. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else? If not, I'm going to go to Mr. Bryan.
All right, yes, I have one public comment from Kevin Kelly, Island Boulevard. Sign the exclusivity and begin conducting financial and engineering due diligence as soon as possible. Thank you.
I'm going to say he's for it. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right. With that, we will move on to the reports. Are you ready, Ms. Clerk?
I am ready.
Fire away.
All right. First order of business for the clerk's office is the public accuracy test, which will take place here at Township Hall on Wednesday, July 26th at 9 a.m. Public is welcome, and Brian will be testing the tabulators and the ballots per state regulations and guidelines. Let's put it that way. Second item of business is the Community Recreation Department just wants to remind you that rec activities continue to take place in this crazy summer, though too often I think things have to have been canceled because of weather. And if you are on Grosse Ile, the social media for Grosse Ile, the Instagram, the Code Red, etc., you will get the notifications when something has had to be canceled. Like on July 20th, the event on Macomb Street. We were all looking forward to that very much, and due to the sudden change in weather, it had to be canceled. And then finally, I just want to leave everyone with this thought. While I am certainly not pro closure of the Wayne County Bridge, and I'm not excited or looking forward to it, I do want to remind us that they are doing this because collectively we pushed so hard to get the bridge fully repaired. And so, that kind of a repair obviously is going to take time. And so we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. One can't happen without the other, but we do want that bridge repaired. So we just have to do the best we can and hope, that the work happens quickly and without too many problems, and that we can move forward from there. So that's it for me today. Thank you.
Uta, I got one question for you. Did they set a date for that July 20th that was canceled? Did they set a new date or
Not that I'm aware of.
anything like that?
It was a DDA event?
It's
but
it was
Yeah.
a DDA, and we have one planned for August.
Okay.
And I want to say August 18th, but I wouldn't.
Just
don't-
not out yet. Okay.
Yeah,
Don't
we had.
quote us.
That's fine.
We had 3. The first 2 have been canceled because of weather.
Yeah, no, that's
so
what I
we're
was
hoping,
wondering.
We're hoping
Yeah.
for August.
If they
Some
set
of
a
the
date.
Water's Edge
yeah,
concerts.
there is a date.
You can announce it though when it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of
yeah.
our Water's Edge concerts have had to be canceled, and I know some of the Sunday concerts on the Commons were canceled, and so we just have to be flexible and again wear our boots.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's August 17th.
Thursday? Is
A Thursday. It'll be a Thursday.
Would be a Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Mr. Nadeau didn't leave a report. Mr. Yeager did not leave a report. So, Mr. Bletcher, if you would, please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of sitting on the Greenways Open Space Committee as well as the Grosse Ile Fire Commission. Regarding greenways and open space, we do not have a meeting in July or August, but you will have noted that there was an article on the front page of the Grosse Ile Grand talking about the 2 trails that have had significant amount of work, the connection between Ferry and Gage, as well as the through trail that Bill Stevenson characterized in the front page article. Thanks on behalf of the committee to Bill Stevenson for such a well-written article, as well as to Bill and Sherry Evans, who are the owners and publishers of the Island Grand. Just a great bit of coverage there, and we can't thank you enough. I encourage everyone to go out and walk some of the trails here, and if Jameson were here, I'm sure he would say to get out and use the bike path to get to the trails. Get some fresh air and get a chance to explore a different side of Groseal. Number of years ago, I was camping in the Smokies, and I had opportunity to drive through what's known as Cades Cove. I did that in a pickup truck. I did that in a sedan. I actually walked it, and I actually bicycled it. 4 different trips, 4 different experiences. I encourage everyone here to go out and take a walk through those open space trails and take a ride on the bicycle path. Second commission that I sit on is the Groseal Fire Commission. There was a successful training involving vehicle fires. 3 of them were parked out here on the green part of the airport and lit up. And the fire department, the firefighters had an opportunity to go in and work on 3 different vehicle fires that provided them valuable training and insight as to what can happen. When you think about all the volatile materials in there, while the gasoline has been removed, when you have a vehicle fire, you have a lot of petrochemical-made contents, everything from the steering wheels, the seats, the interior, as well as various hydraulic fluids within the engine compartment proper, and it is an exciting and dangerous activity. Watching them do that is just eye-popping as to what these guys and gals train for. I would also indicate that fire department is still accepting applications for firefighting. If you want to be a volunteer firefighter, go to Groseal or GIFD recruiting at groseal.com. Again, GIFD recruiting at groseal.com. Or if you want to speak to Margie Gapes, 734-676-4422. Again, 676-4422. Extension 210. Margie is not only a person that provides a lot of information to the public, she has a great experience of having a husband who is on the fire department. Kenny has been there for decades, and she could provide you any information that you need and would probably be able to tell you some of the experiences that her husband has had. It's a wonderful thing to do. Think about volunteering. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Carl. Kyle?
Sure, yes, thank you. My name's Kyle. I sit on the Planning Commission, which meets on an as-needed basis. It has not met recently, nor is it scheduled to, but a lot has been happening. I'm going to start first actually with a non-planning update. At the last meeting, I mentioned the spam filter and how it's been difficult for some residents to get in touch with us. I'm grateful to Brian and Derek for speaking with our IT company and getting the mail issuer threshold reduced from 0.8 to 0.4. It sounds like that's still blocking some residents from emailing us. And I want to acknowledge that's not a good experience when you write to us and you get a message saying your email's been blocked. You don't really get a notification that your email's getting through. But everyone that's looking through at everyone that's looking at their spam filter will get the email. And I know I'll continue to work with Brian and Derek on that to make sure that people are able to get in touch with us. To get back to planning issues, we had an ordinance review meeting, and it's been a few months now ago that residents had gotten in touch with us about notices that they'd received about RVs or boats that they have in their usually in their front driveway. So we had an ordinance review committee meet and look up just different notices that we've been sent, and it turns out 43% of all violations do come through boats, trailers, or RVs. So a significant portion. Since 2022, 315 notices have been given to folks. Very important for everyone to know. Notices are not a ticket. They're just an invitation to talk with the township, to see what you can do. The township is, I feel very lenient in how they approach these. And I just, again, encourage folks to use those notices as an opportunity to speak with folks. But one thing that is clear, I think, from some of these notices is that there is some things we need to look at in terms of our ordinances that can make things better for the residents. I'll say right now, Jameson and I were sitting on that meeting. We might be a little bit different, but at the very least, I think there needs to be some kind of ordinance that allows, at least for loading and unloading of boats and RVs. Right now, our ordinances do not allow that. So like a 48 or 72 hour thing is something I'm looking at personally, but I'm open to feedback on that. Again, Jameson might differ a little bit on me on that, but I'm still speaking with him about it. But again, I invite the public and the board to speak with me about that and figure out ways that we can at least figure something out for next summer. That leads me into the next planning update. There's another committee that's been looking at companies to start our master plan process. We're in the middle of deciding between McKenna and Smith, two very capable companies. Two of each would be very good at leading our master plan process. And Ross Quero and, again, Derek are leading some of that. But I'm happy with either of them, whatever choice we make, and very excited to begin that process. Part of why I suggest maybe just a 48 to 72 hour loading or unloading is this master plan process could possibly take into account things like this moving forward. So again, I invite residents or anyone that's interested in master plan stuff to speak with me. I'm happy to tell you all where I'm at and what I'm thinking and what things are going. We haven't voted on which company should possibly lead that process, but something I'm looking at very closely. So yeah, those are three main things. Of course, we had a major vote tonight. I would say it's a once-in-a-generation vote to consider the purchase of the Groseal Toll Bridge. I won't say too much on it tonight, except to say that again, this is something that I invite as many in the public and others to give feedback on, because even doing the best due diligence that we can, things might happen, and that's a significant liability for us all to take on. I will say I'm grateful to be able to have this opportunity to look into that, because it gives us an opportunity, I think, to take our destiny into our own hands. But again, I want to review everything very carefully, and again, invite the public to give their viewpoints, because this is a big one. This is a big one. So probably the biggest decision that I've had to make since I've been up here, and I don't know what you all think, but it seems like a really big one. So the more public input we have, the better, I think. I will conclude my report there. Thank you all.
Thank you. Joe?
Good evening. I sit on the Police Commission. The meetings are the third Tuesday of each month, 7 p.m., right here in the boardroom. And at the Police Commission level, we continue to look at the budget and millage issues that are coming up. Also, we had an opening for dispatch, and we're going through the process right now. Hopefully, it'll wind it down, and then the interviews will start with the Police Commission. And from there, we'll have our full complement of dispatchers, hopefully soon. The other issue that we had there is a gentleman did come and made a complaint. If you do live by the high school, I fully understand it. The traffic at the time the high school lets out and the bus is let out, it is heavy. The best thing is to just stay away from that place at 240 to 250. And what we're doing is we're going to be looking into traffic control devices on private and public property. As the chief, back 4 or 5 years ago, I petitioned the county for some signage there, and I was turned down, and it kind of seems like a continuous. Kind of, they must not like me down there at the county. So what we're going to do this time, and I do understand why, the police department is supposed to handle the speed, and traffic control devices handle traffic and flow. And there's a difference between the two. But we definitely are looking into it. We're going to be working with the superintendent, Miss Orr, and hopefully we smoothed it out last year, and hopefully it'll be good. If you do live in that area, once again, it's a funnel system. It's so many cars trying to get through an area at once, and it's pretty jammed up. So anyway, I just want to make a comment about the bridge issue too, since Kyle brought this up. I think that we were right. We would be neglectful if we didn't look into it, but I do believe, and I just hope that the board will set up, when it's time and when information can go out, that we have public hearings, or at least a public hearing, because I do believe that the people need to not only know about this, they know about it now, but they also have to have their input. And I get it, Kyle, that if they contact you by email, they give their input. But when they stand in front of that podium, it's just a little different. I wasn't saying anything against, contact us by email, or obviously Derek or Jim. But I think that when the time comes, I think it would be important, and it would be very prudent for us to have a public hearing, at least one of them, to have the people come here, see what they think about this when it's time to make a decision, and when we can give you as the people more information. Obviously, Jim mentioned the confidentiality agreement. There obviously is one. There's only so much that can be given out. And there was none could be given out in the beginning of this, obviously, which was good, because that's the way business is, and that's the way the legal issues are. But I just like to see more of the public being involved in everything we do. I think that's very reasonable. I think it's, once again, I know that we have some very intelligent people out here, not only on our boards, on our commissions, on our committees, things like that, but there's people in the community that have a lot of input and a lot of knowledge. So anyway, I would like to see that in the future. And that is it for my report tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Derek?
Good evening, members of the board and the general public. Just a couple of quick items this evening. The township will be undertaking some concrete sectioning work probably the beginning of next week. That is part of the road millage project list that was originally established by the DPS Commission. The work will actually start on Grays Drive, Rivard Court, and Cadillac Circle. Those areas have been prioritized to try to get them completed before school resumes on September 5th, I believe. So we will be sending out notices to the public about that work once we get a definitive date. But the concrete is currently marked right now. We were out last Friday doing that. So as you drive down Grays Drive, if you see all those marks, that's what that's all about. Dust control is scheduled for next Monday, the 31st. The county will be in town doing grading work Wednesday, in preparation of that. So normally they'll grade the week before, let it set for a little bit, and then dust control will come back through. It is the same product that we originally had applied earlier in the year. We just ask that residents don't park on the road during either the grading work or the dust control activities, so that we have the ability to cover the entire road rather than having to weave around vehicles. I know somebody had mentioned earlier non-motorized transportation. The Gibraltar Bay Connector Trail, that fence work is scheduled to be done by the end of this week. The trail probably will not open this week because we have some paving work that we have to do to connect the bike path to the trail, but the fence portion of it will be completed by this week according to the contractor, and I spoke with him today. We talked a little bit earlier about the recreation director position. That will be on the agenda for next month's meeting, which I believe is the 14th. And as far as the finance director position, that is currently being advertised, and that closes on August 4th. So, and information on that opening can be seen on our website, and also we have it in a variety of different publications and professional organizations. Speaking of other openings, our recreation department has positions available for senior bus driver. That position pays $15 an hour. It has flexible hours. There is no CDL required, just a chauffeur's license. Some information on how to apply for that position is also on our website. We're in desperate need. I think we have one driver currently. We need 2 or 3 to make sure that the residents are serviced properly. So if you do have interest, once again, it's a very flexible schedule. Please take a look at that posting online. Our DPS meeting has been moved to the 9th of August rather than the 8th to accommodate the election. So that'll be Wednesday rather than our traditional Tuesday. Kyle had mentioned the ordinance amendments in the master plan process that we are currently going through, so that update has already been completed. And last but not least, I started with the township when I was 24 years old in 2006, and was my first finance director that I ever worked with. And I learned a lot from her. She took me under her wing, gave me the real world experience when it came to municipal finance, and I'm forever grateful for her for that education and the ongoing education that happens every time you go in her office, and she lets you know what's going on with the township's finances, and also any new things that are happening in the world of finance as far as accounting or GASB standards or whatever it might be, and municipal benefits even, because she has a large hand in that. She always was my go-to to bounce ideas off of. She might not always tell you what you want to hear, but she would tell you what you need to hear, as far as, giving you a reality check and being kind of your conscience She was always a very trusting individual as far as that she would provide you the advice that you needed and the information that you needed. Beside her capabilities as the finance director, which were unmatched, she was an excellent employee and also a huge part of the organizational culture that we have here. She was fantastic. She's kind of that, that bright light that everybody appreciated around here. So she's going to be a huge loss, but she knows that. I think she understands how we all feel. So, but at least wanted to say a couple of things as far as how I feel about it. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Derek. And she was a bright light, not only on Friday, but on Monday also. Just a few things. Our next DDA meeting is this Thursday, the 27th, in the boardroom here. Starts at 6:30. Just want to note, if you people haven't seen it, our second mural is going up on the side of Lloyd's bar or restaurant, and that is a map of the island, and that should be concluded. We have a third mural, which should be started in August, going up on the side of Zubke's plumbing. So that will conclude our murals on Macomb, but they're looking good. I really like that Mustang on the hardware store, but that's because I like cars. So, but this one's going to look good too on Lloyd's. For people who are venturing off the island, King Road is closed between Jefferson and Fort, starting today through, hopefully, they say hopefully the 31st. They're working on the railroad crossings, taking out the old timbers and putting rubber in. I guess rubber timbers, installing that, and they hope to be done by the 31st. So if you normally go Jefferson to King Road or King Road, 4th Street to King to come down to the bridge, don't do it for the next week. I got another notice from our library people in Trenton. There is a group called the Friends of Trenton Veterans Memorial Library, and they used to have book sales, and they would receive book donations inside the library. Because of COVID, that had to stop, but they are back up again. So if you took advantage or want to take advantage of that, they will receive your books. And I did want to make one other comment. It's been said by Joe, it's been said by Greg. Absolutely, there is going to be public input into this. We have to go through our due diligence and the confidentiality part of this. As soon as we can release information and know what direction we think we're going, there definitely will be public meetings on this to get the public input. And I absolutely, like you gentlemen have done, encourage the public to please come to those and give us your input. I say it all the time. If you guys don't give us your input, then it's just us. And 7 people shouldn't be making the decision for 10,000. We need your input. We want your input. And that will be there. Absolutely. And that is it. So I would entertain a